But we're live with history and politics. Um, I am deciding that what I'm going to do is primarily pull White House material. One great thing about Donald Trump being president is you don't have to look for the information. They do try to put spin on what it is they're doing, but it's out in the open. It's like, Donald Trump said, this is what I'm going to do. He's doing what he said he was going to do. He told the American people what he was going to do. They voted for him. And because the American people don't understand history or economics or business or any of that other stuff, they're getting what they asked for. So I have a video out that says, stop blaming Trump. Uh, the process took place, the voting process took place. America made its choice. They are getting the campaign promises he made, and the anticipated outcomes are happening. Now, this may be a situation of it gets worse before it gets better, meaning the economy, meaning the social politics, meaning national harmony. But this is the problem that I see with the immigration, with the convict leasing, with the economy, with the tariffs, with all of this stuff that is seeming to go awry. America is finding out, and particularly, it's no need to use coded language, white Americans primarily are finding out what America was in this time that was great before, make America great again. This tariff thing is not new. Tariffs didn't work in 1980. Ronald Reagan said that. They didn't work under FDR. The only thing it does is causes the economic crisis to go global and then turn political because you stopped our products, we're going to stop your, because then you're going to have counter tariffs. And now it's turned into bad blood. But the key is the American people are getting what they asked for. And it is based in ignorance. People were voting on something that they were too lazy to try to understand. Biden had not done a good job, and there was no evidence that Harris was going to do anything any better or any different. In fact, she was saying she wasn't. There wasn't too much difference between her and Trump, which is why her campaign was so horrible, running on identity politics. And she chose the wrong identity. Why would she run on if she's black or not, and not the strong, educated woman leadership, which cost her the women votes that usually vote Democrat, and that's why she lost. She had, and the reason why she did that only can be assumed is because she had no policy. And to be honest, she had no policy because she didn't get to be a candidate until the last minute. Why? Because she was basically a proverbial meerkat as the vice president. Oh, I didn't see her since he say, hey, look at this black person, let's make me president. And then as soon as that happened, she disappeared, and then she popped up when it was time to run for a second term. So the American people had nothing to trust in the Democratic Party. And so they want to hear something because we have been made to believe since Andrew Jackson that there are only two parties. And they said, well, and the sad part is America has a tradition of picking the lesser of two evils, which is absolutely stupid and why I don't vote. Why do you vote for something that is not good for you because the other thing is worse? No, you go find another avenue of something that is good for you. But all of this stupidity has ended up in a bunch of Americans voting for something that they thought was going to go one way, and it's not necessarily going that way. And this is what, if I have an understanding of history and economics, is that first people with money start to lose money. Then the people with no money lose money. Because people with money don't lose money without taking, they recoup their money by taking it from the poor people. So if this is more than a week, kind of like a month, the financial impact is going to spread to poor people, and it takes a lot longer to restore poor people than it does to restore people with money. It's more money to take from poor people, and there it is not part of our economic plan to spread money amongst the many poor. So I received some comments on some of my videos, and America is not learning its lesson. I was pointing out the anti-discrimination repeals that the Trump administration is doing to remove the regulatory issues of discrimination from government offices and anyone contracted with the government, which basically frees the restraints of discrimination. It's basically a claim of reverse discrimination, which happened immediately after affirmative action. Remember, affirmative action is not critical race theory. It is not diversity, equity, inclusion. But all of these are call words to get white people upset. It doesn't matter if they're Democratic white people. It doesn't matter if they're Republican white people. And I'm not saying that to be racist. If you say affirmative action to black people, that doesn't offend them. If you say CRT to black people, it doesn't offend them. If you say DEI to black people, it doesn't offend them. It offends white people. The people who you're not finding Asians using DEI and CRT and affirmative action, they're benefiting from it. You don't hear even, it's funny, white women use they have bought into, because of the whiteness, the CRT and the DEI and the affirmative action. But guess what? Statistically, they have benefited from all of those programs far more than anybody else, which is really odd, but that's not different from American history. So, how it was written, which we've covered in other videos, is that the executive branch is stopping illegal discrimination against whites. It didn't say against whites, it says stopping illegal discrimination and restoring merit-based reward. And we've gone over, the Supreme Court takes care of things that are illegal. So why is the executive branch even leading something that's dealing with something being legal or not? I'm going to leave that alone. I received a comment of a person saying, what discrimination laws are being repealed? Now, the first thing, I'm trying to figure out why people communicate the way they do. He asked me what is being repealed. Now, that could have been done for more than one reason. Number one, he didn't know and was sincerely asking, I'm not aware of this. What are you talking about? But I had a feeling that that's not what it was. So this is either an opening for a debate or a testing of the waters to see if I am functioning like your proverbial ignorant American and complaining about something that I have no information on. Now, this is an academic channel, and perhaps he didn't look into that, but before you comment on somebody's page, you at least look at the name of the page. So, just by the name of the page, you would kind of figure that this is an educated person. He's probably not just going to be, but that wasn't the case. It was a dog whistle to see if I knew what I was talking about. So, as opposed to having rhetoric, I just sent links from the White House talking about what was going on. So now we don't, I finally found a way around the CNN, Fox, MSN, found my way around it because Trump putting it straight out of the White House. I'm like, oh, cool. No argument. Here's Trump's information. So now we can't do the, I bet you don't know. So now this person is saying discrimination. I agree that discrimination is wrong and they're fixing discrimination. So now my spider senses are just tingling. And this is not education. This is just dealing with people. And I said, exactly what discrimination are you talking about? Then now I've painted you in the corner that you have to actually own whatever you're talking about. And he finally breaks down and he says, white people and Chinese people. Now, why white and Chinese people? I don't know. This is the example he gave. He said that it's racism against whites. And this was the example he gave. White people and Chinese people are getting cheated out of scholastic opportunities and letting black people in, unqualified black people in instead of them. Now, I know what I'm dealing with. It wasn't a question of what what discriminatory things are being repealed. He knew exactly what I was talking about. It was not a matter of anything else that this conversation was going on. Okay, now we've gotten to the crux of the matter. And this is reverse racism, which is about 60 years old now. This immediately was brought about with affirmative action. So there has never been an attitude of repair. There's never been a male attitude of repair toward women. There's never been a white dominant attitude of repair toward blacks, toward Native Americans, toward Mexicans, toward any group that has been structurally oppressed. But the foundation of American oppression is the Native American, the Mexican, and the people of African descent. Let's just make that clear. That is the foundation of the abuse. And when we get to poor whites, that is possibly the largest group. We don't know because they murdered all the Native Americans, but that may be the most consistent, largest group. But for all intents and purposes, we're gonna let the uh, poor whites kind of stand to the side because the poor whites have not been discriminated against because they're white. That's where the white privilege comes in. If you're American, you're going to have a hard life unless you're the 1%. And you can't, if you're American, you're going to have a hard life because you can't be in this horrid fishbowl with the history that we have and the things that we do politically and the things that we do to other people without getting it on you. But you will not have a hard life because you're white. That's white privilege. Now, for people who want to repel that, let me do it to myself. I am a man. I will have a hard life. I'm black, I'm poor, whatever. Didn't go to Ivy League school, whatever, right? But my problems won't be generally because I'm male. Now, it is a black male thing, kind of scary, but men generally have the advantage. My maleness is a privilege that has been historically helpful in progress and process. So just like I can own that, I can sit in that, I can be okay with that. Perhaps some whites can hear it better when it comes from someone turning that on themselves, okay? But when I pointed out, okay, you feel first that this is happening to whites. Now, my question is if this is happening, is this an issue because it's happening at all? Because we're only 12% of the population. A large percent of us are incarcerated. A significant percentage of us are not college age, and a significant percentage of us are not college bound. So let's say 5%, 10%, 20%, 20% of 12% is out there taking spots of white people. Does that mean everybody in that 20% of 12% is not smarter than the whites and Asians? Why would you make that assumption? And even if everybody wasn't and they were taking somebody's place, is that impactful enough on the white population as to where we're going to change federal guidelines? I don't think so. And since he brought in whites and Asians, I'm just saying, Asians and other immigrants and other minorities are receiving the benefits that they're receiving through the 1964 Civil Rights Act through the work of black people. So the fact that any of us are getting in there is because of the work that black folks did. So why would they be mad? And when did white people start speaking on behalf of immigrants? So this video is not extra long. I am in favor of everything Trump is doing. I hope it doesn't bite me. I hope that all the things that I'm doing keeps me well and my family well. But something has to happen. You know that saying, be careful what you wish for, you just might get it?